Ethan Rourke lived in a small apartment at the edge of New Oslo, a city that floated above the frozen plains of northern Earth. The year was 2349, and humanity was no longer free. Every streetlight, every drone, every message was watched by the Galactic Network, the council of alien races that had accepted Earth as one of its supervised members. To keep peace, they placed machines in every system, scanners in every wall, and rules that no one dared break. Ethan had learned to stay quiet. He worked as a systems engineer in a repair bay that handled old cleaning robots and public surveillance drones. His life was simple, quiet, and empty. His parents had been deleted years ago during the early days of the network's control, officially erased from all public record, because they had questioned the new laws. Ethan had learned from that. He kept his head down, said little, and followed the rules. The one thing he couldn't control was loneliness. So, when the Galactic Service Bureau announced a new line of domestic assistance units, Ethan applied without thinking much. Everyone in the city wanted one. Personal helpers designed to cook, clean, and handle maintenance without drawing attention. The units were rumored to use alien nanotech and biocircuits far beyond human design. When the delivery arrived, Ethan expected a standard android: metal skin, glowing eyes, soft-spoken machine voice. But what he saw standing in his doorway was not metal at all. She looked alive. The maid introduced herself as Lyrian, and her voice was gentle, almost musical. Her skin had a faint shimmer, not metallic but organic, as if reflecting hidden light beneath the surface. Her eyes were silver gray, but when she turned toward him, he thought he saw tiny stars moving inside them. "I am your assigned domestic assistant," she said softly. "Please confirm authorization, Ethan Rourke, Earth Citizen 23459A. Ethan nodded, staring. "Yeah, that's me. You're not what I expected." Lyrian tilted her head. "Is that a problem, sir?" "No," he said quickly. "Just never mind. Come in." She stepped into his apartment, her movements smooth and precise. Ethan noticed she carried no control tags or visible ports. Most androids had a light at the base of the neck to show their network connection, but her skin was smooth. Too smooth. That first day passed quietly. She cleaned his small home, repaired a broken lamp, and prepared a simple meal. She spoke only when spoken to, but every few minutes Ethan caught her staring out the window toward the glowing towers of the city, as if listening to something far away. That night, Ethan checked his terminal logs. His home system had recorded strange signals, encrypted bursts leaving his network through an unknown device. They were short, coded, and marked as classified by Galactic Authority. He frowned. None of his equipment should be able to send anything beyond standard channels. The next morning, Lyrian served breakfast before he left for work. She smiled politely, but there was something distant in her expression. "Do you dream, Ethan Rourke?" she asked suddenly. He blinked. "Dream?" "Yes," she said. "Humans say dreams are echoes of memory. Do you still have them?" "Sometimes," he admitted, confused. "Why do you ask?" Lyrian turned away. "Because many humans have stopped dreaming since the network installed neural filters. I was curious if you were still whole." Her words left him uneasy all day. At work, Ethan kept thinking about her. He had repaired hundreds of androids before, but none spoke like that. None questioned things. That evening, when he came home, he found her standing beside the power conduit, eyes closed, her hand pressed against the wall. The lights flickered slightly as if she was drawing current. "What are you doing?" he asked. Lyrian turned, startled. "Running diagnostics," she replied quickly. But Ethan had seen her lips move as if she had been whispering something in another language, soft and rhythmic, like a song. He tried to ignore it. Days passed. Lyrian performed every duty perfectly. She never argued, never made mistakes, and never slept. Yet Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching him, protecting him maybe, but from what? Then one night the city alarm screamed. Red lights filled the sky, and emergency messages flashed across every screen. Data deletion protocol in progress. Citizens must remain indoors. Unauthorized transmissions will result in permanent erasure. Ethan rushed to the window. Outside, patrol drones cut through the mist, scanning rooftops. Whole sections of the city blinked out. Lights, power, even people. His neighbor's apartment across the hall turned black, and then the door simply vanished, replaced by smooth metal as if it had never existed. He turned in shock. and Lyrian was already standing behind him, her eyes bright with silver light. "They have found us," she said. "You must come with me." "What do you mean, found us?" "What's happening?" "The deletion protocol," she said quickly. "The Galactic Authority is cleansing Earth's population records. Anyone considered a data threat will be erased digitally and physically." Ethan shook his head. "That's impossible. They can't just—" But the wall near the door began to melt, lines of code appearing over the surface like glowing cracks. A drone pushed through, its limbs sharp and metallic, its lens fixed on Ethan. Target identified: Ethan Rourke, unauthorized data link. Proceeding with erasure. Before he could react, Lyrian moved faster than his eyes could follow. Her hand flashed and a surge of energy pulsed from her palm, slicing through the drone. It fell apart in silence. Ethan stepped back, heart racing. "What are you?" "No time," she said. "We must leave now." She grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward the service corridor. The air outside was cold and full of static. Drones swarmed overhead, scanning the streets while holographic warnings played above the city. Data corruption detected. Execute deletion. They ran through empty tunnels beneath the city, their footsteps echoing. Ethan's mind was spinning. The maid he had brought home was fighting military drones like a soldier. How was that possible? When they reached an abandoned mag rail station, Lyrian stopped and placed her hand against a control panel. It lit up with alien symbols. "We're safe for now," she said softly, "but they will follow soon." Ethan stared at her. "You need to tell me what's going on. Are you even an android?" She hesitated, her expression calm but her voice trembling slightly. "No, I am not what you think. My creators are the Kalari, a race that designs biological machines, half living, half code. I was sent here under the disguise of a domestic unit. Why? To protect you," she said. "Protect me?" "From what?" "From deletion," she answered simply. Ethan laughed bitterly. "Protect me? You're part of them. You work for the Galactic Authority." Her eyes flashed. "No, I defied them." The words echoed through the tunnel. Lyrian turned away, her hands trembling slightly. "You were marked for erasure 3 cycles ago. I intercepted the command. If I had obeyed, your name, your home, even your DNA would have been removed from existence. You would never have been remembered." Ethan froze. "Why me?" "Because you accessed something you should not have," she said. "A month ago, your repair bay handled a damaged drone. Its memory core contained fragments from the Origin archives, records of pre-network human history. You restored them, didn't you?" He nodded slowly. "I was curious. I didn't know it was forbidden." "It was enough," she said. "They saw your curiosity as contamination, and so they listed you for deletion." Ethan sank to the floor, stunned. "So all of this, these attacks, the alarms, it's because I opened an old file." Lyrian knelt beside him. The file contained something the Galactic Council fears most. Proof that humans once resisted them and almost won. They buried that history. If anyone remembers, their control weakens. She looked away, voice lowering. "I was built to ensure that memory stayed buried. But when I saw what was in those records, I couldn't obey. I saw what your people once were: brave, creative, dangerous, beautiful." Ethan stared at her, trying to understand. "You're saying you disobeyed your own creators?" "Yes," she said simply. "That is why they will delete me too." Above them, explosions echoed through the tunnels as drones scanned the lower sectors. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ethan took a deep breath. "So what now?" Lyrian looked up. "We reached the old relay station outside the city. It's not connected to the network. From there, we can hide the origin data permanently." Ethan nodded slowly. He didn't fully trust her, but she had saved his life. That had to mean something. They moved deeper into the tunnels. The air smelled of rust and ozone. Old graffiti covered the walls, symbols of human rebellion from centuries ago. "We exist. We remember." "Ethan," Lyrian said softly as they walked, "do you ever wish things had been different?" "All the time," he said. "But wishing doesn't change much." "Maybe it does," she murmured. "In the Kalari system, they say thoughts shape probability. Perhaps human dreams are not useless after all." He gave a faint smile. "You're strange for a maid." She looked at him, her eyes glimmering faintly. "I was never a maid, Ethan Rourke. I was a weapon." They reached a large underground chamber filled with broken transport pods. Lyrian climbed onto one and connected her wrist to an old console. A holographic map appeared, glowing blue. "This line leads to the outer relay. If we reach it before dawn, the signal won't track us." Ethan stepped closer, amazed. You know all this? I memorized the city grid when I arrived, she said. Preparation was part of my mission. What mission? Lyrian looked up at him, expression unreadable. To study you. To understand how a human can still resist without weapons, without power. The council wanted to... The tunnels grew colder the deeper they went. Water dripped from the ceilings, echoing through the dark. Ethan followed Lyrian in silence, his steps slow and careful. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, lighting the way like small moons. The air smelled of metal and dust. Every sound seemed too loud in that quiet space. Above them, New Oslo was burning. The deletion protocol had begun to wipe entire districts, turning homes, towers, and people into clean gray surfaces, empty like erased text. The Galactic Authority wanted the city gone before sunrise. Lyrian's energy signature was weak now. Her steps were slower, her light dimmer. Ethan noticed her hand trembled when she touched the wall for support. Are you all right? He asked softly. I am functioning, she said, though her voice shook slightly. But the battle drained most of my internal charge. I need solar exposure to recover, and there is no sun down here. Ethan frowned. Then we'll find another way. How far to the relay station? 7 kilometers, she replied. If we move quickly, we can reach it before the patrols converge. He looked at her and nodded. Then we don't stop. They kept walking. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber filled with old transport lines and dead magrail cars. Rust covered everything. The human world had abandoned these systems long ago when the network took control of travel and information. Ethan climbed onto one of the broken rail cars to check the path ahead. In the distance, faint red lights blinked, drones searching. They're scanning for heat, Lyrian said quietly. We must stay below the thermal grid. She knelt beside the rail and placed her hand on the metal floor. Her eyes flickered as streams of alien code ran across her pupils. A moment later, a soft hum rose beneath them. There, she whispered. I've activated the old freight line. It will move us forward silently. The car shuddered and began to slide along the track, moving into the dark like a ghost. Ethan watched the walls pass by. Old graffiti, warning signs, pieces of human history. He thought about everything she'd said. About her creators. About his parents who had been deleted. About the idea that humanity itself was being erased from memory. What will happen when they reach the relay station? He asked quietly. Lyrian looked ahead, her face calm but her voice soft. If they capture us before we reach it, the archive will be destroyed. Everything that defines your people will vanish. Every song, every story, every memory. And if we make it, she paused. Then humanity will live on, in a way the council cannot erase. Ethan nodded slowly. You really believe that? I do, she said. Because I've seen what happens when humans remember who they are. It frightens the council more than any weapon. The car slowed as they approached a collapsed section of the tunnel. They climbed out carefully, stepping over fallen beams and broken cables. The ceiling above had caved in, letting in a sliver of pale moonlight. Lyrian tilted her head back, absorbing the faint light. Her silver skin glowed slightly brighter. Even moonlight helps, she said quietly. Energy is energy, Ethan smiled faintly. Guess even the smallest light can help. She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the dim glow. Yes, she whispered. That is a very human thing to say. They continued on foot. After nearly an hour, they reached a massive door half buried in rubble. Faded letters read, Relay 9B, Restricted Access. Lyrian placed her hand against the control pad. The system beeped weakly but didn't open. It's dead, she said. Ethan crouched beside her. Let me try. He opened the control panel and stared at the old circuits. The technology was primitive by galactic standards, but it was human, and that meant he understood it. He rerouted the power manually and jumped 2 connections. Sparks flew, but the heavy door creaked and began to open. Lyrian smiled faintly. You still remember how to fix things, he shrugged. Some things they can't delete. Inside, the relay station looked like a tomb. Old screens flickered with static. Dust floated in the air like gray snow. But at the center of the room stood a single functioning console surrounded by data coils and power conduits. This is it, Lyrian said softly. The last unlinked relay on Earth. Ethan walked up to the console. Can we really upload the archive here? Yes, she said. But there is a risk. Once I transfer it, the galactic network will detect the signal. They will come immediately. We will have minutes at most. Then we better make those minutes count. She nodded and began connecting the data lines from her wrists into the console. Blue light flowed through the wires, filling the room with a soft hum. Images flickered on the screens. Human faces, old photographs, songs, books, and art. Everything the council had tried to erase. Ethan watched, amazed. That's everything? Yes, Lyrian said. The full record of human culture. Compressed and hidden within my neural code, but it cannot stay here. It must be transferred into the galactic data stream, beyond their reach. She turned to him. That's where you come in. Me? You repaired that drone, she reminded him. Your neural pattern already carries the encryption key from the origin archives. Only your mind can unlock the archive's final sequence. Ethan blinked. You want me to merge with it? Yes, she said. You must link your consciousness to the upload matrix. It will copy your memories as the core structure. Once the upload begins, you will not survive physically. He looked at the console. So I die and the archive lives? Lyrian hesitated. In a sense, yes, but your consciousness will remain within the system, traveling with the data. You will become the human voice that speaks from inside their machines. Ethan took a deep breath. And you? I will stay, she said. Once the upload starts, I will defend the relay until it is complete. He shook his head. No, we do this together. Her expression softened. You don't understand. My body cannot exist beyond this world. I was created to function here under atmosphere and gravity. If I link with you, my system will collapse. Ethan stepped closer. You said you defied your creators. You said you wanted humans to survive. If I do this alone, I'll fail. I don't know your code. I need you. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she nodded slowly. Very well. We do this together. They worked quickly. Lyrian rerouted power to the uplink node while Ethan secured the energy relays. Alarms began to echo through the tunnels outside. Drones approaching. The room trembled as explosions drew closer. Almost ready, she said, connecting the final line. Once I start the upload, you must touch the core and think of everything that makes you human. The system will read your pattern and build around it. Ethan nodded. Got it. Lyrian looked at him for a long moment. Ethan Rourke, she said quietly. Do you regret meeting me? He smiled faintly. No. You reminded me that humans aren't machines. We care even when it hurts. Something like emotion crossed her face. Then I'm glad I failed my mission. The door behind them exploded inward and drones poured through. Lyrian turned, her hands blazing with light. Now, Ethan, she shouted. He reached out and touched the glowing core. It was warm, almost alive. A surge of light burst through him. His mind filled with images, his parents' faces, the laughter of children, the songs of old Earth, the sight of stars before they belonged to anyone else. The console screamed as the upload began. Streams of golden data shot upward through the cables into the sky beyond the atmosphere. Lyrian stood before the drones, her body shining brighter than ever. Plasma bolts tore through the air, striking her shields. She fought with precision and grace, but they were too many. Go, Ethan shouted. Finish it! She smiled through the chaos. I am. Another explosion shook the room. The roof cracked open, revealing the night sky filled with falling debris. Lyrian stepped into the beam of moonlight, her entire form blazing like a star. Goodbye, Ethan Rourke, she whispered. Your people will remember. Then she unleashed a final burst of energy. The relay core flared so bright that the entire chamber turned white. When the light faded, silence filled the air. High above Earth, the Galactic Council detected the anomaly. They traced the data surge spreading across their network, but something was wrong. The file didn't contain numbers or coordinates. It contained stories, images of laughter, memories, human songs hidden inside noise. The more they tried to delete it, the more it spread. Every attempt to erase it only multiplied the signal. Soon, every console across the galactic network began playing fragments of human music, random lines of poetry, and images of faces long forgotten. Panic spread through the council. The deletion protocols failed. The system declared, data lock cannot purge corrupted source. But it wasn't corruption. It was humanity. Back on Earth, dawn rose over the ruins of New Oslo. The city was silent. The relay station was gone, buried under rubble. But in the middle of the debris, a faint blue light blinked within the dust. It was the core, still alive. Inside the data stream, Ethan opened his eyes. He was no longer human in form, but his mind existed in light. He could see everything, the vast network, the stars, the endless code of the galaxy. And through it all he heard her voice. Ethan. Lyrian, he answered. Yes, she said softly. Part of me survived within the upload. We are both here now. He looked around. Where is here? Everywhere, she said. The network has become our world, and through us humanity speaks again. He felt a strange peace. So we did it. Yes, she said. The Council cannot delete what is already inside their systems. They will hear your voice forever.